Hey everybody, my name is Lowell and welcome to the channel. So we're jumping back into college football stadiums. This is going to be the Mid-American Conference. Let's jump in and let's have a look at these ones.
The Mid-American Conference, or MAC as it's known, isn't one of the bigger FBS conferences. But you know what they say,
Oh
once
wow,
you
we're
go
really
MAC,
into sticks.
you never go back. Perhaps that saying is referring to Apple laptops. Not sure. Anyway, here are the MAC football stadiums. Husky Stadium, home of the NIU
Illinois.
Huskies.
Ah,
It's a good old-fashioned stadium. Nothing fancy, just two big stands on each side. The western stand being slightly larger. It probably looks quite similar to how it did when it opened in 1965, minus the Jordan Athletic Center to the north. Although there are plans to expand the stadium into a horseshoe shape, as well as renovating it, which will give the entire stadium a completely new look. But for now, it's not too bad. And
I mean, 24,000 is nothing to sneeze at. You know, that's probably about average in Australia. So that's a pretty big stadium, you know, from what I know. But yeah, obviously very small for American college. So
got a statue of a dog, but I can't ascertain which breed it is. I'm not really good with dog breeds. Sorry, my voice went a bit husky there. Dick's Stadium, home of the Kent State
okay,
Golden Flashes.
25, okay.
This is an interesting one. At first glance, you might think that there's seating on each side of the stadium, but this section is more of a party deck or plaza, whatever you want to call it. With a
Does that say Golden Flashes? Okay. Kent State? Okay.
small artificial turf hill in front of it, which is fairly unique, as is the fact that the eastern stand is smaller than the one behind the north
Yeah,
end
it's
zone.
tiny. What the?
The unique layout might have something to do with the fact that it wasn't built from scratch. They actually moved the stands from their former home, Memorial Stadium, to Dick's Stadium.
Ah.
But I think it looks great regardless.
Oh,
Deutsch L.
Bowling
Perry
Green.
Stadium, home of the
Okay.
Bowling Green Falcons.
I've heard of this team, never seen them play. I've never seen their stadium, but that looks pretty. I like that. Okay, looking down on it. Okay.
It's quite similar to Husky Stadium, with the addition of this interesting looking building behind the north end zone. It's the Sebo Athletic Center. It looks great, and I always like when they include a small section of seating as part of those athletic centers. I also like all the hits of orange throughout the stadium. But why are the team colors orange and brown if they're called the Green Falcons? It just doesn't make sense. Oh yes, Bowling Green Falcons, right. Fred C. Yeager Stadium, home of the Miami Redhawks.
Miami.
Miami?
In Ohio?
But I thought this was the Mid-American Conference. It is, of course, Miami in Ohio. Wait, no. It's Oxford, Ohio. But it's Miami University. I guess that...
Wait, what? It's Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Okay.
They didn't want to call themselves the University of Oxford. Because...
Well, yeah.
Well, it's a fantastic place to study, but their football team is worse than the London Silly Nannies. Once again, it's quite similar to Husky Stadium, with just two stands, one being bigger than the other, except it looks ever so slightly more modern. Glass Bowl, home of the Toledo Rockets.
Toledo.
Despite being called the Glass Bowl, it's known for the use of stone throughout the stadium. The
I
exterior
like that. The Rockets. I love their logo. Okay.
in particular. I love that. But even better is this genuine rocket right here. Okay, that's kind of cool, playing
Wow,
into the
okay,
team's
that's
nickname.
cool.
But the best part is that it's aimed at Deutsch Perry Stadium, the home of their rivals. They say those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but I guess if your glass bowl is made of stone, then it's okay to launch rockets. But don't worry, Bowling Green Falcons, I think they've just got a case of the Kims, all bark and no bite. Although he definitely does do a lot of biting. Loves a bit of cheese, and I don't blame him. But putting that aside, this seems to be one of the best stadiums in the conference. It's just got a bit more going for it than the stadiums we've seen so far.
I like the rocket ship on the grass. on the field. It just sets it off. I really like that. Okay.
Infocision Stadium,
Akron.
home of the Akron Zips. This one is actually in the center of a major city for a change. Okay, it's Akron, Ohio, but still, relatively speaking, it's sort of a major city.
The Zips? What the hell is a zip? I don't know. If you know, let me know.
It's very Ohio heavy, this conference. The stadium was built to replace the Rubber Bowl, which actually still exists, but rubber doesn't last forever. It's not looking so well. The new stadium features a grand facade on the western side, made from brick and glass, which is quite common in college football, but not particularly in this conference. It looks nice. The stadium has a double-decker stand on each side, quite simple, but it's all tied together by a grass berm to the south, as well as this thing to the north, which I'm assuming connects to the field house across the road. It's quite convenient that the players don't have to play Frogger to get to the field. Cali Short Stadium, home of the Central Michigan Chippewas. For a second there, I thought that the 11-time world surfing champion Kelly Slater had started his own board shorts company and sponsored the stadium. Then I realized it's in Michigan. Also, when has a board short specific company ever existed, let alone sponsored a stadium? The U-shaped stadium is the biggest in the conference by a matter of 55 seats, or the equivalent of 55 seats in benches. It doesn't particularly look as big as the last two, but that's because of the sheer amount of end zone seating that this one has, which is a bit deceptive. It's quite a simple stadium.
Wow, good crowd they've got. Good crowd.
But sometimes that's good. Hedden Stadium, home of the Ohio Bobcats. It's not the only college stadium located in a place called Athens. The other...
Ohio really like their horseshoe-shaped stadiums, don't they? They really like that style.
Is just slightly bigger. But just like Athens in Greece, this stadium is quite old. The oldest in the conference.
Oh, wow.
It was originally just known as Ohio Stadium, despite there already being a Ohio Stadium. Perhaps the Bobcats thought they would rise to become the most prominent team in Ohio. Not quite, but it's worth noting that it's a couple hundred feet from the Hocking River, which looks considerably nicer than the Olentangy River. So, that's something. But for what it is, it seems like an alright stadium. Rynearson Stadium, home of the Eastern Michigan Eagles. The eagle-eyed among you, no pun intended, honestly, may have noticed something a little bit different about this stadium. Yes, you don't see a track on a college football stadium too often.
I didn't even notice the track. I'm looking at the, I'm pretty sure that's purple field. Looks it. Okay.
But the even more eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that the field is grey.
Oh, it's grey.
Which makes perfect sense given that the team's colours are green and white. Green and white. Wait, what? That's odd. But despite the greyness and the track, it's an alright stadium. You've got these curving extensions to the stands that, along with the grass berm, form sort of a pseudo horseshoe. That's interesting. Schumann Stadium, home of the Ball State Cardinals. It's the smallest stadium in the conference, although to be fair, all of the max stadiums are within 10,000 or so seats of each other. Despite its modest size,
I like the red on the field. The red really stands out whenever they have red. It looks
seems
really
very well organized, very well put together. The main stand has a very nice facade, and this thing over here, whatever you want to call it, adds a nice classy touch. And I'm sure someone would mention it in the comments, so I'll just say that David Letterman, being a Ball State man himself, campaigned to have the stadium named after him, in a joking fashion as you might expect. And while we're on the topic, I don't watch many late shows, but Craig Ferguson is the GOAT. But perhaps it's just that accent.
But Scottish man.
UB Stadium, home of the Buffalo Bulls. They were just one letter away from being an NFL team. So close. Better luck next time. Well, what do
Another
you know?
track.
Another track.
Yeah.
The stands at this stadium are quite unique, particularly the southern end. I wouldn't call it a triple-decker, but it's a single tier split into 3 sections. And then these 2 stands, well, they've now been demolished and replaced with this field house.
Oh.
But the main stands as well have something different about them. These ones are double-deckers, but once again they look like triple-deckers. So yeah, an interesting one. If only those stands were on wheels. It looks like they'd fit perfectly to create a U-shaped stadium on top of the track.
Yep.
Where is it? Where's Waldo Stadium? Ooh, there it is. Waldo Stadium, home of the Western Michigan Broncos.
That's what it's actually called. Oh my god, that is a terrible pun.
Not only does the
30,000,
stadium have a fun name, but the city in which it's located does as well.
Broncos, good.
Kalamazoo. If I didn't
Kalamazoo. Okay, I've heard of that. Okay.
know any better, I'd assume it was some sort of wind instrument used by a remote African tribe in Tanzania. Anyway, the stadium's pretty unique. Each stand backs onto something. The ballpark, the road, the practice facility, and the main stand is built into the earth with the parking lot up top.
Okay.
Kinda similar to Maverick Stadium in Utah. And it's interesting to see how there's a very small lower seating bowl that wraps its way around the field. I really like this one.
I like that.
And those were the MAC
that's
football
it.
stadiums, the last of the FBS conferences. Don't worry, we will be doing the FCS conferences as well, but the videos won't be quite as frequent. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing.
That was a really good one. Some of them I've actually heard of. I've not seen them play or anything like that. They've just kind of come up in conversations, like when we're doing college football in the weekend. You know, you see some of their scores and stuff like that. As I said, definitely I've heard of some of them. I wouldn't mind seeing some of them play. Grey field. We've seen blue and we've seen kind of teal. We haven't seen grey. So it definitely looked a little purple. That was very interesting. Obviously, much smaller stadiums, sure. But they definitely like that horseshoe shape in Ohio. Very interesting. Very interesting video too. So let me know what you guys thought of that. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe. And I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video.